Okay, welcome back to the Investigative Journal on this October 13th, Tuesday, 2015 day on our calendar. I'm your host, Greg Anthony. You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. You can listen to my show if you so choose every evening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's Monday through Friday at FirstAmendmentRadio.com. Yesterday we looked back at the significance of this papal visit back around September 23rd through the 27th or so. And I'm going to finish up doing that at the latter part of the show. But today I wanted to play, like I promised, an interview that was done by International Ministries with Father Alberto Rivera when he was still with us. He was born on September 19th, 1935, died in 1997 under strange circumstances. I did interviews with his wife, Nuri Rivera, who said that he was murdered by the Jesuits. There's a great story on my website regarding that, a couple interviews I did with her years ago. Never did get a chance to talk to Alberto, but I've talked to many people, for example, the Tony Alamo Ministry, and Tony Alamo, who was one of the first who put Alberto in the public eye here in America when he was seeking asylum, for telling the truth about what the Jesuit order is doing to Christian churches all over the country. So I thought we'd go to that interview right today. This was done when Alberto was still alive. Unfortunately, there's only been 1,464 hits on this YouTube interview. There should be 14 million. But that's what I'm telling you. They have done a good job in brainwashing people with this ecumenical movement that is nothing more than false unity under the Antichrist. And let's listen to what Alberto Rivera, a high-level Jesuit priest, had to say about it.
The Jesuit priests have been infiltrating every institution, and they're ready now for a takeover. I want you to pay close attention to this first person that we're going to interview. He's an ex-Jesuit priest, and he tells you about the infiltration by the Jesuits.
Especially I work in dealing with the infiltration of churches and religious institutions as well as government. That cover a tremendous number of institutions.
And the purpose of that infiltration was what for?
Well, the purpose is what the Roman Catholic system has all the time as her own purpose, is to infiltrate, to penetrate all the areas of life where the Roman Catholic can have control and access for the coming world government. What that means is, in preparation for that world government, the Roman Catholic institution, especially since the establishment of the Jesuit order in 1541, to all these 500 years, they've been in preparation and through infiltration and penetration of every level of society in order to take over the world politically and religiously. There are two doctrines that define very well these dangerous goal of the Roman Catholic institution. Two doctrines define this very well. One is called the doctrine of the apostolic succession, and that is dealing with the papacy. And the other is the doctrine, the temporal power, and that is dealing with world government. Of course, both, because you can see that even the Pope and his own individual office, he meet those requirements. He is not only the head of his church, as he called himself, John Paul II, the present Pope. He said he is the pastor of his church. He is not only that, but he is the head of his state, of his country. But that means he is the head of a political state. Both combinations are in one office. They are in prophetically speaking, that is what we see in the book of Revelation. The political power always hand to hand with the religious power. I did training in monasteries and convents where I prepare cursigistas, the Legion of Mary, Blue Army, many of these militant organizations. I train and prepare how they can become Baptists, how they can become Adventists, how they can become Methodists, how they can become Presbyterian, how they can become Pentecostal, and all these areas where they most infiltrate any area.
You bring up one of the other questions I have. Might as well ask it now. Particularly the Blue Army. Is that in some way connected with the Fatima?
That's correct.
Is that to protect it? Or
they are the army that creates the greatest promotion of that cult, of that satanic cult here in the United States. In every country, the Roman Catholicism display this promotion to the so-called Virgin. That is not even Mary, the Mary that we know in the Gospel, but a distortion of that really, truly Mary of the Gospel. They display to different militant organizations the promotional need for certain saint or virgin, whatever. And the Blue Army is the greatest promoters of the call to Mary here in the United States. The Opus Dei is another arm of the Jesuits. What that means, you have Masons, you have Illuminatis, you have the New Age movement, you have the Trilateral Commission, you have the Club of Rome, you have so many others. They are in different areas working through certain programs, what they need in that particular area where these organizations move, where there are.
Okay, quite interesting what Father Rivera is saying, and I just wanted to interrupt and mention that he was trying to get this message across when he defected from the Jesuit order, and the type of treatment that he received was just incredible. When they finally killed him, and that's exactly what happened according to his wife Nuri Rivera, who is still alive today and running a small ministry in Florida, and this was maybe a couple of years ago that I had first, maybe 3 years ago was the last time I talked with Nuri, and she told me the most unbelievable story about what happened to her husband in his final days. And afterwards, she was confronted by Jesuits who offered her $1 million if she would sign a document stating that everything Alberto Rivera said was a lie, and also that he, in her best of knowledge, was a lunatic and insane. This is quite amazing. Let's get back
this
to
promotion,
this interview.
To the so-called Virgin, that is not even Mary, the Mary that we know in the Gospel, but a distortion of that really, truly Mary of the Gospel. They display to different militant organizations the promotional need for certain saint or virgin, whatever. And the Blue Army is the greatest promoters of the call to Mary here in the United States. The Opus Dei is another arm of the Jesuits. What that means, you have Masons, you have Illuminatis, you have the New Age movement, you have the Trilateral Commission, you have the Club of Rome, you have so many others. They are in different areas working through certain programs, what they need in that particular area where these organizations move, where there are secret or public organizations. They need to control certain area of certain people, and this is where and how they'll be ready to have them under control through these organizations. The Opus Dei mainly, they move next to what they call Christian democracy.
And what he's really getting at is that this infiltration of these churches has gone to most every area of American society. And what he mentioned in another interview that's not in this interview was that they were targeting most every church, every organization, to bring them under the umbrella of the Vatican. And their main target also were people like the Alamo ministry and these fringe churches that refuse to bow down to Rome. And quite interesting that Tony Alamo was one of the first ones who gave Alberto a chance to speak. And basically, you've seen on my shows, I've tried to document exactly what's happened to him. And basically what's happened is he's been put in jail for 175 years. His ministry, they have tried to tear it apart by kidnapping the children of that ministry when there were no abuse charges found, and then basically stealing their property and their land. An incredible story. And I wanted to get back to Alberto. I've been having some computer difficulties the last couple days, and so basically I'm going to try to get this back on the air for you, and I can't at this particular juncture, so I'm going to have to continue until we can resolve these computer issues. And, you know, I've got so much information. I've talked to so many people regarding Alberto, so many people who realize his story. One of the interesting things about the Alberto Rivera story, and here he is, maybe we can get him back.
You have the Club of Rome, you have so many others. They are in different areas working through certain programs, what they need in that particular area where these organizations move, whether they are secret or public organizations, they need to control certain area of certain people. And this is where and how they'll be ready to have them under control through these organizations. The Opus Dei mainly, they move next to what they call Christian democracy. The so-called Christian democracy is an outgrowth of this Opus Dei. It's exactly the words in Latin precisely define that. The Latin definition is for Opus Dei is the work of God. What that means, the Opus Dei, Opus meaning the work, and then you have how you call Dei, Opus Dei, the work of God.
When the Council of Trent occurred, it was controlled by the Jesuits.
Yes.
How about the Vatican II?
Now,
the connection?
Yes, the connection is very, very, very prophetic. I will say this, I think that will clear the whole point here, because it's so prophetic that while the Council of Trent was the first council to be managed by the Jesuit order, the Vatican Council was brought about by the same Jesuit order with the same intention. And you know the intention of the Council of Trent. The intention behind the Council of Trent was the Counter-Reformation. What was the intent of the Vatican Council II? Another Counter-Reformation, but called today, how you call it? Renewal. You see the point? Now, the change wasn't made, but the intentions were the same.
Yes.
See, more sophisticated today.
Yes.
You see, the Counter-Reformation was taken to the Council of Trent. That was the entire Counter-Reformation was performed by the Council of Trent, decrees. Then through that time until today, Vatican Council II came about with the idea of renewal. That means another step forward, and the final, I will say this is the final stage of a Counter-Reformation.
Now, how about the charismatic movement? What's the connection with that?
The charismatic movement is serving the purpose, as we said, of one of the many issues. As we said about Saturdays and Sunday, they'll pick up every issue with different denominations. In the case of the charismatic movement, they pick up the charismatic movement because one factor. They could not bring under subjection the Pentecostal denominations.
They couldn't.
They could not. Even when they went to the ecumenical movement before, from 1945 down to our day, since this already starts. As a matter of fact, if you want to know, the World Council of Churches started financed by the Jesuits in Europe in 1945 after the end of the Second World War already, or by the time that the World War was to end, already the Jesuits were at work trying to unite all the Protestants in Europe. And that was the origin of the World Council of Churches and the ecumenical movement. Today, the charismatic movement is serving that purpose.
Okay, so he's getting deep into the story about the ecumenical movement, and I'm trying desperately to get a good connection on this internet, which is getting exceedingly more difficult on the last couple shows, but bear with me. We're going to get it done and get back to Father Alberto Rivera, because I know you're getting a little tired of listening to me break in. Here he
But
is.
the intentions were the same.
Yeah.
See, more sophisticated today.
Yes.
You see, the Counter-Reformation was taken to the Council of Trent. That was the entire Counter-Reformation was performed by the Council of Trent, decrees. Then through that time until today, Vatican Council II came about with the idea of renewal. That means another step forward, and the final, I will say this is the final stage of a Counter-Reformation.
Now, how about the charismatic movement? What's the connection with that?
The charismatic movement is serving the purpose, as we said.
Okay, yes, it happened again, and I wonder if we should not just stop the show, but no, we'll try to get back with Father Rivera in just 1 second.
Now, how about the charismatic movement? What's the connection with that?
The charismatic movement is serving the purpose, as we said, of one of the many issues. As we said about Saturdays and Sunday, they'll pick up every issue with different denominations. In the case of the charismatic movement, they pick up the charismatic movement because one factor. They could not bring under subjection the Pentecostal denominations.
They couldn't.
They could not. Even when they went to the ecumenical movement before, from 1945 down to our day, since this already starts. As a matter of fact, if you want to know, the World Council of Churches started financed by the Jesuits in Europe in 1945 after the end of the Second World War already, or by the time that the World War was to end, already the Jesuits were at work trying to unite all the Protestants in Europe. And that was the origin of the World Council of Churches and the ecumenical movement. Today, the charismatic movement is serving that purpose. Where the Pentecostal could not be brought into the ecumenical forum, they brought it through the exercise of a charismatic gift.
Would you consider that Jesuitism to be an occult secret society?
It is an occult secret society from the point of view that the Jesuit order, what you know of the Jesuit order and what everybody knows of the Jesuit order is not the true Jesuit order. What that means is even the Jesuits within the Jesuit order, they all are not knowing the secret society, the inner secret society that they are surrounded by. It's a pity to have even to say that at this point in the history of the United States, in the history of the presidents, and has not been other president. From the time of President Washington, that was the first president to be utilized by the Jesuits. If you were not aware of that, President Washington already was initiated by the Jesuits to bring about the first communication with the Vatican ever known in this country. From there on, President Reagan, to all this time, President Reagan has come to fulfill the greatest moment in the history of this conspiracy, because no other president has come as close as President Reagan with the Vatican, and even not even John F. Kennedy. What that means is they have done to President Kennedy, to President Reagan, what they were not able to do even through a Roman Catholic president. And nevertheless, I will say this: the religious belief of President Kennedy is nothing more, nothing else than another expression of Catholicism. Perhaps I need to clear this. Roman Catholicism is not only the Roman Catholicism. Roman Catholicism is still, and it has been at work outside the Roman Catholic system. But that means there are many daughters of the Roman Catholic system outside the Roman Catholic system. And as there are many daughters, these daughters have children, and of course President Reagan fit within that picture. His relationship with the Vatican today brought about several things. One of them is the diplomatic relationship with the Vatican. Second, the preparation for the signature of a concordat between the Vatican and the United States. And if you want to know, this never took place overnight. President Reagan was prepared and is here for the task that is performing today as President of the United States by the Jesuit of Rome, and the time that he served as a star in a movie that was very well known and still being shown today, a very old movie about the football team of Notre Dame.
New Blockney.
That's correct. This is the time that the first contact was made by the Jesuits with Reagan. Jesuits, under the stream of an induction, they were not directly to be involved. They only were the elements, the intellectual element that will prepare this. The case of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, the president, was killed by the Jesuit of Rome, but there was no Jesuit there involved directly. Nevertheless, was the Jesuit who prepared the plot against his life and prepared and trained those who were to kill him.
They arranged it.
Yes, it happened with President Kennedy, the same thing. The assassination of Kennedy is another fact that can be proved of any time that was ordered and by the Jesuits in order to get rid of a president that already was ashamed to the Roman Catholic institution, being Roman Catholic. You have two different extremes. In Abraham Lincoln, you have that there was a man professing to be a Christian, solid Christian, and then there you have a man that professed to be a solid Catholic, but then put to shame his own institution when he was confronted about what he will do as a Roman Catholic president about the Constitution and about the interests of the Roman Catholic institution. When he placed the Constitution of the United States above the common laws of the institution, he called for disaster. Let me tell you where the Knights of Columbus has done and performed a tremendous job in the United States in education, in public education. The authors of the chaotic situation of the public schools in the United States has been and are the Knights of Columbus in the United States.
What about the work of Alcazar and Rivera?
Now these were two Jesuits that are starting already way back early and before the 1600 already. Rivera and Alcazar were already commissioned to penetrate, since the infiltration was very difficult in the days through the Reformation. They can spot an infiltrator very easily in those days because the battle, the struggle was face to face with the Vatican. Then Roman Catholics and the Inquisitors, they
Back in 3 minutes on the Investigative Journal.
You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com worldwide. Freedom is never free. We need your support today at FirstAmendmentRadio.com.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Okay, we're back for the second half hour of the Investigative Journal on this Tuesday, October 13th, 2015, and I think the internet connection is solid for a change, so I think we'll get through this show. I had a little problem with the last couple days, but there was something interesting in what former Jesuit priest Alberto Rivera said. He was talking about the connections between our founding fathers and the Jesuits, and that's an interesting topic, because there are people out there, these esteemed writers of books like Vatican's Assassins, who claim to know everything about everything. And if you disagree with certain points, you hit a nerve. And the author of that book seems to call everybody who says that the founding fathers were in the pocket of the Jesuits Jesuit coadjutors. Tupper Saucy was one. Greg Szymanski or Greg Anthony was one. And I'm wondering if he's going to call Father Alberto Rivera one. Well, what I say is what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And wouldn't it be interesting if the author of Vatican's Assassins was also a Jesuit coadjutor? That's up to you to figure out, guys. Let's get back to Father Alberto Rivera.
They have a hard time trying to infiltrate the Christian churches, even in Spain, where it was underground completely. They have a hard, difficult time, and there was a very fearful thing to infiltrate, and nevertheless they did it. They did infiltrate, and this is how they find many Christians worshiping the Lord in underground places. Now, through infiltration. But in these cases, they were not commissioned under the stream of an induction, as I was under the stream of an induction. Rivera and Alcázar, they were to work, and then later Lacunza. There is more, but I will mention these three, the most important ones, in dealing with one special area, prophecy. They were assigned to deal especially with prophecy, with the purpose to do two things, at least: to cover up any prophecy relate to the origin of the Antichrist, relate to the Antichrist, and relate to the papacy, relate to the Antichrist. And second, to cover up any idea that the Roman Catholic institution was never a Christian church, as I pointed out before. What that means is to make possible and in Bible commentaries and church history that the Roman Catholic institution always will appear as a Christian church falling in apostasy, and then we need a renewal, That was the idea that Rivera, Alcázar, and Lacus tried to trace. Among other things, they tried to implement the idea that most of the prophecies of the book of Revelations were already fulfilled by the time of Nero. What that means is that don't worry about prophecies today. Don't worry about the Antichrist. Don't worry about a one-world government. Don't worry about nothing like that. Yes, that's correct. Walter Martin has been, and confessed by him, as a matter of fact, I could mention that I have a debate already with Mr. Martin. I have already a debate with Mr. Gary Metz, and I took them both by surprise. I took Mr. Gary Metz on radio by surprise. I not only persuade him, I force him to answer these accusations and these slanders. And then I took immediately Mr. Walter Martin and Anaheim. And both gentlemen, they were not looking really to meet with me. They were trying to avoid, if it were all possible, that confrontation that I did have with both. We have tapes of these confrontations and these debates. And then Mr. Walter Martin, he himself, even so that I knew his name and the list of very confident persons by the Jesuit order. What that means is that the Jesuit order will have a list made up in the United States of people as well as institutions that are worth trusting. And Mr. Walter Martin, I even mentioned to him in this confrontation with him that his name was listed in that list.
What did he say?
And he said to me, well, I don't know why my name is there. I said, you should know.
He should know.
Yes. I said, you should know. As a matter of fact, why Mr. Walter Martin, 25 years ago, he even wrote about the cult to Mary, a book about Mary, and 25 years after, he have a list, as a matter of fact, that I have with me, a list of cults where he lists the most dangerous cults, and all who in the list of his most dangerous cults are Christian Science, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, starting with the Mormons, and suddenly I was expecting that he will place at the top of the most dangerous cult Roman Catholicism, by were the Mormons. Now, the Mormons become the victim of Roman Catholicism not only, but become the victim of Mr. Walter Martin, because even the Mormons are the product of Roman Catholicism.
The pressure for Sunday in the future is an issue. Is that a product of the Jesuits, or what do you know about that?
Well, what I know is this, that even the Seventh-day Adventist denomination has been placed under the greatest setup and a real setup of all the history of the denomination. And the proof and evidence is that now the leadership is already in a position where they themselves cannot play the role of Frankenstein no longer, because they're being unveiled, they're being discovered, and their intents and their true intents, and cases where already most of them has been already trained, prepared by Jesuits to be where they are.
So, will this Sunday issue seems to be on the president's desk to be signed? The moral majority is pushing for it. The Lord's Day Alliance has pushed for it from its inception. That was one of the reasons it was created.
Yes.
So in other words, you think that for example, the Adventist leadership are going to fold up?
No, that is not true.
No.
In the how the denomination has been set up and their keeping of the Sabbath is this. The Roman Catholic institution already, and this is why you had Biacochi and some other elements within the denomination, that already has been even honored, and condecorated by the Vatican concerning their work. And actually, the Roman Catholic institution is preparing the greatest surprise of them all, because it's not going to be even Sunday that they are going to be after. is going to be Saturday, and you will see why. The reason of this is when already Catholicism came about with the idea during the Vatican Council II that a Roman Catholic Mass that was only to be performed on Sundays as to be the only valid Mass for Roman Catholic. Even if they go any other day, Saturday, Friday, there was no valid Mass for their obligations. Now, during the Vatican Council, the second session, suddenly the whole picture changed, and you know what for. The whole picture changed and said, now Saturday Mass is considered to be valid Mass as Sunday Mass. But that means not only that, more than that, Saturday Mass can replace Sunday Mass.
But it's the Protestants,
yes,
not the Jesuits that appear to be pushing for the Sunday, for national Sunday law.
Yes, actually, this is to trigger a reaction to really make you for a cover-up. The issue here is not even Saturday, is not even Sunday. The issue here, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, the issue here is the person of the Antichrist. You see, in matters of days, right now, the conflict is being utilized, the struggle between Saturday and Sunday is being utilized more for the benefit of Roman Catholicism than even for the benefit of the Christian Church. And that is how it has been exploited, to the point that already the Vatican approved, listen to this, approved the publication officially of Biacochi, see, and dealing with from his book called From Saturday to Sunday. Now, if the Vatican go as far as approving a publication as such, what do you think that is happening? Do you see the point here?
Yeah.
If the Vatican goes as far, telling an official, a member of the denominational body of the Seventh-day Adventists, I am the author of this book. I'm telling you that you have changed Saturday to Sunday. That you, as a Roman Catholic, you were the one that changed it. I mean, openly saying that there you did this. And the Cardinal Seven comes and say, oh yes, we agree, we did this. We agree. Now, what are they trying to gain by doing this, by accepting this? What they are trying to gain? They are trying to gain the sympathy. They are trying to gain the life, and they are trying to gain the entire denomination as they have gained the Pentecostal, as they have gained the Protestants through different other issues. Nevertheless, they touch every other issue except the real issue. Through any other issues, like the tongues business, the charismatic gift, you see, they are dealing with the things where nobody can see what is behind. In other words, they cannot openly see any evil because you will see the Vatican as a good, in a good position, a renewal position, say, yes, we recognize that we did wrong, we changed from Saturday to Sunday, and we admit this, and we're going to do something about it. The Vatican Council did it. You see, we are going to incorporate now officially the Mass on the day of Sabbath. You see?
Because the Bible's clear.
Oh yes. When they go that far, you can see one thing for sure. Now there is, in this issue, in my own personal belief of the Scripture, you do not see that the issue in prophecy is one day or the other. The issue in prophecy is more than a day. Is more than a day. The issue in prophecy is who and where is the Antichrist now. Once that the person perceives the reality and the manifestation of this prophecy, they'll know the rest according to the Scripture. But when a person is blind to the reality of who the Pope is, and the Pope is granting every favor to every other denomination, they'll believe that the Pope is not such a bad guy at all, after all. If you want to do some homework throughout the news media, you will find something. As a matter of fact, not only throughout the news media, but you will find something very interesting even throughout film industry. that a lot of movies has come, and a lot of article has been written up, and a lot of television show has come out, and even movies and TV and through radio, a lot of talk show has come out dealing with the very issues that I have dealt in these 4 parts of my testimony. They did not this before. Before 1979, over all these issues, everybody was quiet. Every other reporter will never inquire about celibacy and the problems of celibacy, about lesbian, about gays within the clergy, about the mafia and the relationship of the bishops and the cardinals with the mafia and the clergy, about the banks, international bank situation with the Vatican bank. Nothing of this was ever dealt with, except when these testimonies went out. Then the news media start dealing, the film industry start dealing with priests that were unfaithful priests, cardinals that were unfaithful cardinals, bishops that were unfaithful bishops. As a matter of fact, even Jesuits within the Jesuit order were sent out immediately to answer to these very issues, to answer in their way. What that means is they went saying from every direction, yes, we recognize that there are priests involved with the mafia, there are even bishops. We recognize there are priests that they have broken their celibacy and they have committed a fornication and they're still committing fornication. We recognize it. But you see, the church is another matter. The idea always was to tell the Catholic people, tell the Christian world, yes, these things happen, but this is isolated. This is one priest, a bishop, a cardinal, someone that was unfaithful. But this is not the religion. This is not the system. This is not our belief. This is not our life. This is not our conduct. That is what they pretend to do. You have, among even present Jesuits, Hans Kahn, the German Jesuits, and then you have Malachi Martin. These men under dispensation. What that means, granting them the authority and the power by the Vatican and the Jesuit general to go out and speak against the Pope, speak against the liturgy, speak against the clergy, and they will not suffer excommunication. You see that they can go now trying to deal with these very issues, trying to justify the regardless of all this commotion.
And you know, that is really important if you listen to what he said. So was Malachi Martin and these people he's talking about actually working with them for a purpose? Now, is that the same reason that Alex Jones recently came out against the Pope? For the same situation. Oh, yes, this is the one who's bad. This is the bad portion of, but the institution is still good. That's where the whole thing goes off track. And you got to watch this guy and figure out what he's saying. Because it is the entire institution from the beginning. That is why you can't go back and say, let's go back to the founding fathers. They were involved in it too. And so, have they been, some of the people that are doing this kind of thing, like Alex Jones right now, like Leo Zagami right now, coming back out and saying, this will be the last pope, and pinpointing the evil. But they fail to go in depth and tell you that it is the entire institution from the roots that is the problem. That's the point. And that's where you've got to watch out. And Alberto Rivera is telling you that right here. So listen carefully to people that even talk against the Jesuits. Because perhaps, and I'm talking about media members who talk against them, look at what they say, totally. And if they kind of hem and haw about certain things like Jones is doing now, watch out for that. And maybe they've been given special dispensations as well.
All this immorality, of all this corruption, of all these crimes, This is different from the mother, from the system. These are individuals within the clergy, but not the system. And of course, the system is the one that created them all.
Has it been a certain promotion to create in the United States a special way of looking at Roman Catholicism?
Oh, yes. Yes.
You mean type of propaganda special for this country?
Yes, definitely. This is why they has been so successful here in the United States, being a country of a Protestant inheritance with a Christian beginning, right in the 1620, where the Pilgrims arrived to the northeast coast of this country, and suddenly today is making a concordat between the Vatican and the United States. Now, what that means, this is the greatest treason ever known to the very founders of this country. I mean, the most direct treason and betrayal that has taken place in this country has taken place, and the fact that now this government is looking for fellowship, for relationship with the very criminals that caused the greatest massacre in Europe, by which massacre and through which persecution the Pilgrims arrived to the northeast coast of the United States.
We were told that the United States would repudiate every principle of the Constitution, and I'm sure that that is not too far in the distant future.
Okay, so that was that short interview with Father Alberto Rivera. I hope we got something out of it. Let me go back and finish up what we were talking about Monday regarding September 25th and what the Pope's papal visit. And we're looking at some of this presentation called Here's What Happened on September 25th, 2015, that will change your lives forever. Let's finish that up.
Now that same idea brings us back to Freemasonry. Freemasonry also puts forth the idea that all religions are one. We all praying to the same God, or the great architect, the big G. So you can see where the Vatican, the Masons, all the secret societies, all of these groups are working together. This is all a part of the beast system. All of them want the one world religion. The only thing that's going to be missing from this one world religion is Jesus Christ. Makes you wonder, right? That's why you shouldn't be surprised when you see stories like this. Joel Osteen meets with Pope Francis of the Vatican. Now once again, this is all part of bringing all the religions into one. Then once again, still looking ahead at this potential alien invasion or alien contact, Pope Francis says we are not alone in the universe. In his homily, held this morning in St. Peter's Square, Pope Francis, with great ease and amazement among the faithful present, reveals, "Dear brothers, I wanted to tell all of you that we are not alone in the universe. Science has already made so much progress, and will most likely soon we'll know our new brothers and sisters with whom we will exchange a sign of peace." Now, I don't think it gets much more obvious than that. I mean, again, you can see where this tool of the beast system is putting this stuff out there, right? It's getting it into people's minds. It's getting you ready. And this right here was just from June of this year, 2015. And this one I took a little personal. Many people ask me about my faith, or am I religious, or whatever. And I always say it's no religion, just relationship. It's all about having a relationship with God the Father, the Supreme Being, the Almighty, and His Son, Jesus Christ. It's all about the relationship. You can have one-on-one. But of course, Pope Francis went as far as saying that having a personal relationship with Christ apart from the Catholic Church is, quote, dangerous. But as you can see, they're not going to like this on the New World Religion. They're not going to want you to have that personal relationship with God and Jesus Christ. You're going to have to be a part of this one world religion. Well, all of that brings us to more recent news, and this all has to do with the Pope coming to America in September and the kind of things he's going to be talking about. He's really been putting down capitalism here lately. For the New World Order to actually be a one world order and a one world system, it's going to have to destroy capitalism. So that's all a big part of this. This is why you keep seeing this coming up in a lot of the dialogue over the last few months with Pope Francis. Even right here in the article, they're calling him Red Francis, but Pope Francis calls capitalism dung of the devil. That's why you'll see stories like this right here. Pope Francis receives a gift of Christ crucified on a hammer and sickle. And keep in mind now that communism is against God. Communism is an atheistic belief. There's no room for God or faith in communism. That brings me to this video here. This is from the YouTube channel Grindle61. It's right down there in the corner, so please check out Grindle if you're not familiar with his channel. Does a lot of really good videos, and this is one of them right here. Man erupts during Catholic climate change meeting, wants his church back. And this is a fairly recent video, I think. Let's see. Yeah, August 8th, 2015, so it's not too far away there. So yeah. Anyway, check this one out. I can't play it. I can't play the thing out or anything, but it's worthy of checking out. But I'll show you a few things here. This was a conference was taking place, a Catholic conference on climate change. You can see some of the agenda right there. But right there in the middle you can see climate change, right? The science behind climate change, scientific consensus on climate change, so obviously they're really pushing that. And then of course sustainable development, call to action. All this once again goes back to Agenda 21. We've talked about Agenda 21 on my channel. You guys have probably seen a lot of things about that, other places as well. If you're not familiar with that term, please look it up.
Okay, we're going to finish up today, come back tomorrow with more on the Investigative Journal. Have a good evening and good night.
Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie, with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character, as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.